Today we're going to talk about oil leaks on a BMW N62 engine. We're working on a 2010 X5 today. This engine is common. I have another one in a 2008 550. It's very common in the E60s and the E70s. The 4.8 liter engine here has leaks, oil leaks that are pretty common in 4 locations. We're going to talk about some of them today. On the first side, we have the valve cover on the right side. We have the valve cover on the left side. We have the timing chain covers in the front on both sides. And then there's an oil thermostat switch that's underneath. It mounts to the engine block underneath. That's another common one. So these are 4 common spots on the engine block itself. There's a lot of talk of also the valve seals. We're not going to talk about the valve seals today. There are different ways that you can determine where your oil leak is going. This is losing about a quart, I'd say, every 2 or 3 weeks. I'm actually finding oil on the ground. So we've done this job. There's a little bit of a cheater note. We've done the right side, the right valve cover gasket. We've done the oil thermostat switch underneath, as I said, way down under here. Okay, we've done the gasket on this side, but we still had an oil leak, and I can talk about that in a little bit. So today we're actually going to go back in. We're going to change not only the gasket, we're changing the actual cover today, because I'm understanding that you're supposed to change those covers. Those plastic covers wear out. All right. Another indication that that it's not the valves. I have these are the plugs that came out. All right, they're all burning pretty clean. If you had 1 or 2 that were burnt, had oil and all kinds of gummy stuff on it, and that would indicate that you had blow-by on one of the valves, 1 or 2 of the valves. We don't have that indication now. So the symptoms I'm getting now is that I get the cloud of shame whenever you're at a traffic light for a minute and then take off. All right, and then you get it when you go under load. So you're cruising along, and then all of a sudden you get that blast of smoke when you kick it. And the reason for that is you can attribute that to a vacuum leak. And an indication that you have that vacuum leak is that obviously if you have oil coming out of the engine, that means you have air being sucked in. When the air gets sucked in, it's pulling the oil into the cylinders, and that's where you're getting the burning. Now, if you had oil when you first start up in the morning and you get that funny oil smell burning, but then it kind of dissipates, that means the oil's been sitting, draining down into the valves overnight. And that's an indication also that you have through the valve seals. I don't have any of that. I just have like I said, the cloud of shame, because I'm sucking in on this cover here, right between number 5 and number 6. I'm not getting a good seal on this cover, so we're going to replace the cover today, and hopefully that'll take care of not only the oil going out, but the air going in and burning internally. All right, so we're just going to pop some of these ventilation covers off real quick, and we'll jump into this. Okay, we're back here in the trunk area, I should say. I've already got this opened up here. Your battery is underneath this compartment here. Yes, there's no spare tire because I have run flats. I'm going to take this battery, the negative terminal, off. This is a 10 millimeter. Just loosen that guy up, take the thing off. The reason why you want to do that is because you're playing with a lot of electronics and things. You don't want any floating electricity going through there and popping a board or a sensor or anything. Okay, so we got make sure you put your gloves on. Work like a gentleman. We're going to pull the intakes off. In here you got a plug. Goes to your sensor, your flow sensor. The little tab is underneath. It is tricky to get, but you want to go from the bottom, squish it. I hope this is not an indication of how the rest of this job is going to go. There we go. All right, that stays in place. We pop these little tabs off here. You're going to take the whole top cover off and the plummet off the intake of the mass flow. That comes off. Put that right there. right here in the front, you're gonna pull these guys out. These are funny. I'm gonna pull these pins out. So get up underneath there, pull that pin out like that. You see? And then this guy just pops right out like this. That's how that goes, okay? Be careful not to break those. Okay. Hold on here. Okay. Those are T25. Okay, see the star? Just pop it out from here. Take it out just like that. That goes right out like that. A little tab in the back. You should be able to just pull it up. Little tab there. Goes in that hole there. So you just pick that up. Same thing with this one. Little tab in the front. Bolt is loose. You got a tab back here. Just give it a good little yank. She comes right out. Okay. Okay, so now we've got the battery isolated. Now we can start getting into the engine a little bit. This is a 30 Torx. Two simple bolts. This is the bracket that held up the air filter. That comes off just like that, out of our way. All right. We got the two covers here. We're not going to touch this side. Again, we're focusing on this side. So we have the BMW cover. There's a pin here, and there's a pin in the back. So all you got to do is just work them out. I'm sorry. It was actually here, and then the one in the back. There we go. You just want to be careful not to be too hard with it, because you don't want to break those pins that are in there on the cover. There we go. Get that guy out of our way. So now we can start getting into some of the fun stuff. So the first thing we're going to do is pull off the solenoid motor up there for the Vanos. So you take the plug off, squishy, swishy on the side, and that's how you get that out. She pulls right out. And then you come in, you're going to want to use a regular Allen, one of the few Allens that are in here. And I want to say this is a 4 millimeter Allen. Right? All right, so this is a ball. You don't want to snap the ball. So what I suggest is breaking them loose first. Okay. And then we can come back in. There's 4 bolts on it. Just go around, get all 4. It is recommended to replace these bolts. These and the ones underneath, and I'll show you those in a minute. But I couldn't seem to find them online without going to a BMW dealer. The dealership will overcharge you, of course. But if you're not doing this, if you're not taking these things in and out too much, you should be all right. They'll be reused. So, gingerly take these little guys out. Again, 4 millimeter. It's easier with the ball Allen. All right, make sure you take them out one at a time. You don't want to start dropping these things in the valley, or God forbid down there on the oil pan. Another trick I like to do, I have a magnet, all right, one of these long magnets, very strong pull. I like to sneak it in behind here. I don't know if you can get, you see where this bolt is? And the reason for that is because as I loosen it, okay, God forbid I do drop it, hopefully the magnet will catch it. See, I came off of there. So again, these are some of the tricks of the trade. Again, if you're doing this job, you've been swinging a wrench a while, you know a lot of these tricks. All right, there we go. All right, let's go in the back. I know you can't see this, I'm sorry. from the top here. Go. All right, so now I'm going to point out the fact this is under pressure. If you go by the book, it says take the cap off in the back and back it out. I'm telling you right now, I've done this several times. You can just release this. It's going to pop. It's going to startle you at first. It's all cool. When you go to put this back, we're going to screw it back in, and it should find its own location. That's one of the reasons why we disconnect the battery. So again, when this guy comes out, she's going to pop a little bit. Can you see? And you'll hear it. See how it's pushed? See how it pushed it up? Okay. So again, first thing you want to do, take that screw off so you don't lose it. When you take this off, there's going to be a little O-ring, so it's not going to just pull right out. You have to spin it out counterclockwise. I forgot to tell you, what I like to do is mark this. So I mark the side of the valve cover, the side of this mounting, and this on the actual motor itself. This way you can see when you have 3 orange dots, you know how it goes. You'll also know, in case you forget, this is how the plug goes. It goes down in this position. You don't want to start putting it in this way where it's backwards once you have it in and realize the plug doesn't go in. So again, just a little reminder for yourself. Spin this guy out counterclockwise. She comes out. Again, a little O-ring in there. You want to make sure you get them both. So now we have this out. Now you want to take these out. These are the other 4 that I was talking about. These are the ones that should be replaced as well. But today we're not going to worry about it. We got a T25. So again, you got a T25 there. Just going to break them loose one at a time. All right, now we pull them out. Again, you don't want to drop it into the engine. That'd be a bad thing. Take it out by hand. Okay, you get an idea how long you're going to... Again, T25 star. All right. Okay. 4 bolts are out. When you take this out, there's a seal in there. You want to maybe just kind of twist this out a little bit. So you're not going to break it, so don't worry. Just give it a little twist to help it out, lifting the whole time. It's just a tight fit, okay? You see the rubber gasket in here? All right, again, that's something you're going to replace whether you're doing just whether you're just doing a gasket job or you're doing a whole valve cover. You definitely want to replace this seal, okay? She fits around there like this. When you go to put it together, you want to put it in the cover first and then put the aluminum block into it. Okay. So since we're right here, you'll see there's some grounding wires. There's some grounding wires right here that come off of, one comes off the fuel rail here, and the other ones come up from the coils, the ignition coils. So you just want to pull these guys out. Since we're right here, again, we are 25T, all right? We're going to just, so these are basically bolts that are screwing into the nuts that hold the valve cover on. And you'll see, when I pull the wire off, you still have the nut holding the cover on through the grommet. So we're just going to take these little bolts and put them on the side here. Disconnect these 2 little wires. Again, you have 1 single wire coming off from the fuel rail, and you have 1 from the first 2 coils and 1 from the back 2 coils. All right, they all got to come out of your way. Again, make sure you don't drop the screw. So now we have those out of the way. All right, next, let's get this guy out of the way. So pull back. This is a little bit of a bear to get these. We're going to take this unit off here. It's connected in 3 places. Both valve covers and then in the center of the intake. So basically it's sucking up, and then you want to squeeze these things. They're great to go on. They're a pain to get off. There we go. I got lucky. All right. Again, you're squeezing just so you can get that O-ring. You want to make sure when you put it back on, it clicks. Same thing over here. Squeezing up and down. It pulls right out. Now, I could take the other one off, but it's not in our way. I'm just going to spin that up like that. You know what? No, I'm going to take that back. We're going to take that off. Okay, there you go. 1, 2, 3. Put that up out of the way. Notice I'm not putting screws and stuff up here. Come over here. Get yourself a good tray. As you go to different sections of the engine, you just put all your stuff in one tray. This way all your hardware is together. If we were doing the other side at the same time, I'd have a second tray for the right side. But just good practice. Okay, next we're going to pull the coils out. We're going to need something a little different for this one. Okay, so now we're going to pull the ignition coils out. There are 4 obviously on this side. If you notice, there's a little plastic clip that's holding them in. It's got one of them star screws on it. It's an E6. All right, what do I mean by E6? It's like a star almost. I don't know if you can see it there. We'll see it a little better. So we're going to pull this out. There's 1 screw here and 1 screw there for 2 brackets to hold in 4 coils. We'll just pull these puppies out. Okay, so basically it comes out. Don't know why it's got to be so long, but it is what it is. Got one in the back here. I don't know if you can get in there with that. Yeah, I can't even see. You gotta kind of do it by feel a little bit. Okay. There we go. You have that little guy right there. Pain in the neck. Okay, so you notice these heater hoses are in the way. They come out of the back wall here. They go down. They're tying into the front, and they go through this some kind of module here. I don't know what it is, but there's 2 pins, rubber pins. They just sit in the bushings, so you can actually pick this up. When you pick this up, okay, see how it popped out? What you can do, there's a couple things you can do here. We're going to take the bottom hose. There's a hose that goes, there are 3 hoses. 2 come from here, so 1 goes into the back, 1 loops around to the front, and then underneath there's a hose that goes up into the front, looks like up to the radiator. What you want to do is you want to take the bottom hose off with that hose clamp. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe zoom in where my finger is. Yeah, take this hose clamp off. That will take that hose off, and you'll be able to get this whole thing out of your way for when you're taking the cover off. Now, I'm cautioning you now, you need to get something to block that hose because the antifreeze is going to come out. You're going to make a little bit of a mess. It's all how fast you can get that hose off and plugged. I'm going to go get something to plug this. Not the best thing, but I have a socket that I know that fits right in there. So hold on, we'll be right back. All right, you see that screw all the way down there? That's the one you got to take off the hose clamp. There's also a wire that goes to this. I'm going to shut this off only because we can't get a good shot of it with my big hand in the way. We'll be right back. We're going to take that hose clamp off, pull it off, and I'm going to plug it with... I'm cheating here. It's an E60, but the thing is, if you put a socket in, when I put it in, it'll actually stop the antifreeze from coming out. Not the best use of your tools, but it works for today. Okay, so I didn't show this, but I just pulled this wire off of this module down here. Just loosened the lower hose clamp. So when I pull this out, and I know you can't see, but there we go. So we are spilling frantically. Alright, so I got my thumb in the hose I just pulled off. And now I just have to get around this tube and be careful not to tear that wire out. Let's get that wire out of our way. since she's unplugged. So again, gravity's your friend here. You want to go up with that. I'm just going to lay that there for now. All right, we'll get that in a second. Just hook it up. We'll take care of that in a minute. Meanwhile, my thumb is in here. Meanwhile, so ready? See, there she goes. Jam that in there real tight. Again, not the best use of your tools, but I know that fits. Okay, so now you can leave that down there. We have our wire. We're going to pull that out of our way. Get back to him in a couple hours. Back up here on top, we have the hose, but we have to get our fuel line out of the way. This is a live pressurized fuel line. So this line comes up from the back from the fuel pump, goes up, and distributes to both fuel rails. So these things are pretty common. A lot of the American cars, the Fords, do this too. This little clamp here, you just pop it off. It's like a U shape. See the U shape? Get that out of my way. All right. So when I open this line up, you're going to see gas. You're going to get gas all over. It's going to smell great. All right, you're going to push that in. You see this black piece here? You're going to push that in, just compress, and she pops right out like that. Try and keep it in the up. It will dissipate out a little bit, but you do what you can. You want to switch these around, and you want to put those heater hoses up out of your way. We got to get the battery terminal too. I forgot to do that. Okay, so now we got the fuel lines out of the way, heater hoses. Let's get this battery terminal. Again, we've already disconnected the power, so we should be all right. This is a 30 Torx. And the way this guy works here, I'm going to pull this out. And this cable is the positive, slides right out. Okay? Just put this in here so we don't lose it again. Close them up. Meanwhile, this cable, we're going to pull this in the back. Get around our fuel line and just pull it back out of our way. Nothing special there. Okay. All right. So what else we got? We have something going into this hose here. Goes into the top of the valve cover. Again, we're going to squeeze. It's actually not the valve cover. It's the what is this? There we go. All right, you see, we just pulled that one off. So that goes back. This goes back. You want to get as much of this stuff out of your way. Okay. Pull these back. Now you're starting to see the top of this cover here. And trust me, the more you remove now, the easier your life will be when you're going to swing that cover out, because it is a bear. There we go. Again, gravity's your friend or enemy at this point. Okay, so now we've tied that guy up with a tie wrap up onto the wiper just to get it out of the way. Fuel line's out of the way. Battery cable's out of your way. The hose in the back coming off the brake booster is out of your way. So let's get these coils out of here. So they have a little flip on them. See a little flip, and as you push it, it actually pushes the wire out. Makes it very simple to come out. So again, we'll watch this one again. Flip and watch. See how it just pushes out? It's a beautiful thing. Nice short cables on there. This way you're not exposing a lot of wire. Goes right where it has to go. Okay, so now we're going to pull these guys out. There's a hole here in the back. You can probably just get your finger in it, a little tough. They pop right out. Easy. If they get a little tight, you can put a screwdriver or something in there, give you a little leverage. Again, if these things have been in there for a couple of years, it might get a little tight. See, like this one. And this is not in there a couple of years. It was just out last week. Okay. Now, I will say, when you get to number 8 in the back, this cover you're not going to have the clearance with the wall here. So what you want to do is just break it loose. Again, hang on one second. Again, so you can see, just want to give it a little leverage, picking up. This guy's in there. Why am I struggling? Okay, so we just lifted it up. Okay, so now she's loose, but you ain't gonna have the clearance. These clips come off. If I just give it a little twist, she'll come right off. See? Once you have that off, then you have less to pull out. And again, a little twisting and dancing there, you'll get her out. And there we go. All right, so if we want to just zoom in on this. So these holes here line up on these pins here. Again, it's just an easy plastic cap. Just slide her in there like that. Okay, and that was that action we were talking about before. Just put these on the side, you go. So now those are out of the way. Next, you want to get the harness out of the way. Now it's just against the valve cover. This is the harness for the coils. So you just give it a little pull, a little push, and she pops right out. And of course, because I say that, it doesn't want to come out. Come on. It's just these little tabs here. And the pressure, she pops right off. Okay. There we go. Okay. So now, as we're coming out, all right, we have that. Take it off the clips. Take it off, take it off, take it off. Just put this way out of your way on the other side of the engine. Not to mix it up with the wire. Okay, so now we're making some headway here. Let's get some of these wires out of here so we can expose the cover a little bit better. Again, these are just the holders. All right. This unit right here slides off. Okay, it's just a little rubber bushing holding it on. Just slides off that tab right there. So now that's out of your way. Okay, so now we're just gonna pop this off of this bracket here so that this hose can sit down a little bit lower. Now we got the whole bottom. Now we still got that top corner. So let's pay attention here, folks. We have a couple of encoders here, or sensors. So right here, there is a sensor that goes through the cover and picks up on the valve shaft, and then the other one, the crankshaft. So you have one is watching the shaft for the exhaust. The other one right behind it is looking for the intake, and then you have this unit here, which actually is an encoder. It's a sensor. This is going to be a bear. Yes, you take one bolt here for one sensor, one bolt for a second sensor. This sensor has two. You're going to replace this gasket here as well. This comes off very easily. Quarter turn, and she pops right out like that. However, that is your nemesis, because when you go to pull this cover off, this piece is going to stay. And the cover goes down in the back, and that's how you got to be careful not to break that. This piece here is about $400. You don't want to break that. So you need to be really careful. Take your time. If you're getting aggravated, go have a coffee or something and come back later. You absolutely do not want to break that. So for now, we're going to pull these other two out. We'll pull this manifold off, and it'll make a little bit more sense. All right? So again, we're using the these are the E6 star. Okay, so this one's nice and easy right here. I mean, this is a charm. Now that you got everything out of the way, you come off real easy. I know I seem like I'm whining, but this is very critical, this piece. And if you're not ginger when you're taking it out, you'll break it. And you can look at some of the other YouTube videos out there. You see guys crying the blues because now they got to replace that thing for $400. This just picks right off. Okay, see? This comes off. Note the bevel on this side, and she's flat on top. Okay? And there's your sensor right there. Go back in. Grab the first sensor right there. So now we're just going to pull this out. We rock it a little bit. We pull her out. Okay. Make sure that you have your O-ring on it. If the O-ring is in here, make sure it's in the cavity. All right. Don't want to drop it down. You definitely don't want to drop it into the valve cover. All right. There are two, like I said, two sensors. Notice this is the one that goes on top. It has the shorter wire. The other one has a longer one. Very difficult to confuse them, so don't worry about it at this point. Let's go in. We'll get the last one. And again, you might have to fish around to find the bolt a little bit. Not exactly easy to see. Alright, once I'm on, the beauty is at least you got some room to swing the ratchet in the back. Okay, here we go. We got the screw. Again, get very careful not to drop it. And again, same thing, give it a little rock, a little wiggle and a dance, it should come out. Okay. Again, sorry about that. Again, it's an offset screw. Make sure you have your O-ring on that. So at this point, we have 3 sensors, 3 wires are out of the way.